everyone. So I am really deeply honored and humbled to be here on the stage with people who have been some of the staunchest allies of the communities that I come from, of Muslim communities, of Palestinian communities, of Arab American communities. We've spent a lot of time on the front lines together protecting each other, but also protecting other marginalized communities, and I'm so grateful to be on the same stage with you again tonight.
This is the infamous speech we all heard about that Linda Sarsour gave at the New School, which is actually a university in New York City, founded in like 1919 or something, and it's a progressive school actually. I've never heard of it myself, but you learn something new every day, I guess. What you won't learn is too much from Linda in this speech. It's a lot of words and noise, but not much really behind it all. She honestly doesn't even say much about anti-Semitism at all. This entire speech is mostly her defending herself, playing a little bit of the victim, and telling you how you can be a part of the movement. This was obviously a controversial speech because, well, people know Linda as a staunch Muslim, and I know that doesn't mean she's actually an anti-Semite, but a lot of us don't trust her, me especially. I question her motives always. She does put them on the table though a lot, I will say that. I will give her credit for that. You know, calling out for jihad against the president and shit like that. She's very bold, but she knows how to use her words. She's really good at saying things in a way that makes it seem extreme, but she can cover it up afterwards or claim it's something else. She's really good at doing that, exactly like that jihad comment. Oh yeah, but you know, the biggest jihad is the struggle against the government, blah blah blah. But she literally does the extremist thing by calling for jihad. Now, regardless whether she is or not, like I said already, she really didn't say much about anti-Semitism in this speech, so I guess we could just get right to it, and I'll critique where necessary. And like I said, she talks a lot, but it's a lot of empty speech. There's nothing behind it, except for, of course, the demand she has of you that she doesn't have to live up to herself, but we'll get to that.
So, apparently, I'm the biggest problem for the Jewish community. I am like the existential threat, apparently. And it really is very I'm confused, literally, every day. And I'm confused by people who actually don't know who I am, have never sat on a table with me, and for sure have never been anywhere near a social justice movement in these United States of America.
Well, I'm sorry, Linda. We can only know of you what you give us. You don't know any of us, but you call us all Islamophobes and racists because we critique you. You do the same thing, don't you? Now, herein lies a problem. The old question, are you anti-Semitic if you're anti-Israel? I'm not going to get into that question now. I'm not going to answer it myself. But the thing is, you can understand why some people may think you're anti-Semitic yourself because of your hatred for Israel, the harsh words you have for it all the time. You're a supporter of the BDS movement. Now, although that movement may be based on an oppression you think exists, if people complied with it, as many people as you would like, the entire world, it would have harmful effects to the Israeli community. The entire state would collapse, and you think people are going to think you're supportive of Jewish people when the place that's supposed to be the home for Jews is dismantled economically because you think your people are oppressed? People might think you're an anti-Semite. People might think you're a big enemy of the Jews then. It's understandable. But like I said, this is only your fault. This is what you've given us. And it's not just your ideas about Jewish people or Israel. It's your whole personality. It's everything you've given us. Everything you've given us has been how you're the victim and the people on your side are the victims always. And anyone against you is an enemy. You've created the opposition to you, Linda. So go cry me a river about that.
And if they ever have been in space with me, including recently at the Left Forum for anyone who is here, one of the things I focused on at the Left Forum is I said to folks in the room, progressive folks, all pretty much down, I said to them, oftentimes when we come into conversation together, we always look at the ills of the things or the exterior to our progressive movement. What we really need to be doing is looking at the ills within the movement that we are a part of, which is not exclusive to anti-Semitism or to Islamophobia or to homophobia or to transphobia. My role here tonight was I was coming to speak to a progressive audience as a progressive leader in the progressive movement to say that we cannot dismantle anti-black racism, Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia, every phobia and ism without also dismantling anti-Semitism. That intersectionality, as an intersectional movement organizer, and I've been doing intersectionality way before last year when everybody thought it was cool to talk about intersectionality. Thank you to Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw for giving us that term. Intersectionality is not about black people and white people organizing together or Jews and Muslims organizing together. That's not what intersectionality is. Intersectionality is all of us organizing at the intersections of oppression and seeing oppression connected. So anti-Semitism is one branch on a larger tree of racism. So you can't just address one branch. You got to address all the branches together so we can get to the root of the problem.
See what I mean by a lot of words but nothing really being said? What did she really say there? That you have to be intersectional, so okay, we get to the intersection of oppression where this is where everyone's oppressed. And we can't kill it unless we kill all branches at once. So how do we kill it? The so-called oppression, by the way. I don't even understand it. So you can't stop oppression of black people until you stop the oppression of Jews, but you can't stop the oppression of Jews until you stop the oppression of black people. But so when the fuck do you stop the oppression? Doesn't that make intersectionality sound like a bunch of nonsense? And by the way, would any white oppression be thrown in there? Can we focus on some of that? No, I doubt it. Not saying white people are oppressed, but you get the point I'm trying to make. But you know what's funny, guys? I think I actually get what she's saying. She's saying you gotta get to the root cause, which is find out the common denominator here of oppression. And we all know what that common denominator is, don't we, guys? Of course, it's white people and white supremacy and systemic racism in our government.
Apparently, the critics say, well, why are you all having a conversation about anti-Semitism? You're not experts in anti-Semitism and in Jewish communities. Well, first of all these people up here are Jews, if you didn't know. And I'm the resident non-Jew on this panel. And what I think is so ludicrous about that, which has basically been the argument for pretty much the 199 plus op-eds that are out there, because apparently people in the opposition have more times to write op-eds about us than about the administration, but that's okay. Or healthcare or immigrant rights or let's pass the DREAM Act maybe, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah, there's totally not enough people talking trash about Trump in the media. Not at all. Oh my fucking God, these people are sick. But alright, Linda, tell us why you guys should be having the conversation about anti-Semitism.
Apparently, it just really, like, I'm just dumbfounded. It's kind of like saying we all got to be critical race theorists to say Black Lives Matter or to talk about combating anti-black racism, or saying you have to be a Muslim or an expert in Islam to want to combat Islamophobia.
Let me get this straight. You don't have to be a Muslim to combat Islamophobia, but you have to be a Muslim to criticize Islam?
We would never say that about any other form of oppression. So why do we want to frame this conversation that only Jews or those who are experts in anti-Semitism can, in fact, want to combat anti-Semitism? That's like 99% of us are going to be like, guess we don't qualify, so we're not going to combat anti-Semitism. It's actually a disservice to Jews to try to frame this conversation in this way.
All right, Jews. Guess what? It's a disservice to you guys to frame this conversation from your point of view. But black people, shut up and listen to black people when they talk. You do not understand their experience. You do not understand what they've been through. You do not understand their oppression. Anyone else see the disconnect here? And the dishonesty? And the disingenuousness? Linda, maybe this is why people would think you're the biggest enemy of the Jew. Or whatever hyperbole you want to use. This is why, Linda, people don't like you. And they don't trust you. And you're gonna get that until you stop things like this.
Just in case it's not clear, I am unapologetically Palestinian American. And will always be unapologetically Palestinian American. I'm also unapologetically Muslim American. And guess what? I'm also a very staunch supporter of the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement. Now,
well, Linda, I'm unapologetically white. Is that a problem? I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Because of course that's where the oppression comes from.
You can tell me if I'm crazy. What other way am I supposed to be as a Palestinian American? What other positions do people expect me to have as a Palestinian American who's a daughter of immigrants who lived under military occupation and still has family in Palestine who live under military occupation? I should be expected to have the views that I hold. And the fact that people want to frame the way that I choose to show up in a movement, they are denying my existence and my right to be an unapologetic Palestinian American who is not only a critic of the state of Israel, but I'm sure damn well a critic of the United States of America, and I always have been, even under the Obama administration.
Showing us more reasons why people hate you because you're so critical of America. You're not critical of your people at all. You're Muslim people, you're Palestinian people. You claim oppression by the Israeli government. So it's just, I say this is the way it is. We're being oppressed, so that's the story, and you have to come with me on this journey, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You fail to see that disconnect, Linda. The conversation isn't over yet. People are divided on that issue. That convo isn't over yet. I mean, it should be over, but I won't get into that because this is not the real point of the video. Maybe you should think about taking the point of view of an American instead of holding every other identity you have closer to your heart. Maybe see how America is the best place in the world for your people to come, instead of acting like we're oppressing you constantly and not allowing you to grow or anything here. It's horseshit. It's nonsense. And did you hear what she said there? This is, I think, the most important part of what she said there.
And the fact that people want to frame the way that I choose to show up in a movement, they are denying my existence and my right to be an unapologetic Palestinian American who is not only a critic of the state of Israel, but I'm sure damn well a critic of the United States of America, and I always have been, even under the Obama administration.
The fact that people want to frame the way I come into a movement is denying me my right to be unapologetically Palestinian American, right? That's exactly what she said. Do me a favor and remember that line. Go back to it if you have to when I remind you later, but I'll be showing you something later about that. But besides that, how does people wanting to frame the way you enter a movement stop you from being who you are? It doesn't. It's just the way they want you to do it. You can do whatever you want, right, Linda? So right there, she's claiming a victimhood for something she doesn't have.
Now, what I'm here to say is this. I have always been an ally to Jewish communities. And one of the things that I've learned as a Muslim who belongs to a group of 1.8 billion people, that we ain't actually all the same. And I'm pretty sure that's the same in the Jewish community. So the confusion is, and I hope we're clarifying it for you tonight, that the Jewish community is also not a monolith. Not every single Jewish person that I've met sees their liberation or their Jewishness connected to the state of Israel. So the framing of this idea that in the progressive movement, somehow this imposition that we have to have is that all Jews, Israel, is inaccurate. It's false.
God damn, her Brooklyn accent's really coming out there. It's inaccurate. It's false. Maybe you can get a role in the upcoming Muslim Sopranos series. It's just a joke, guys. There's no Muslim Sopranos series coming out. Okay, Linda, so here's the thing. This is a problem in the progressive movement at the moment. There's a split going on. People who support Israel and people who don't. So tell me, Linda, how is it going to fare when someone wants to talk pro-Israel in front of you? Are you going to have it? Are you going to be down to have that conversation? Or are you going to lash out at them? Are you going to tell them they're wrong and that your way is the right way? What are you going to do? Therein lies your problem with just blurting out, oh, we don't all have to support Israel to be pro-Jewish and not an anti-Semite. Are you going to allow others to speak for Israel, which is kind of in turn against Palestine? It doesn't have to be anti-Palestine, but pro-Israel anything to you is a problem because of the oppression. So is the framework of the conversation only going to be through the eyes of Palestine is oppressed? I guess that's up to you, Linda.
The other thing that I want to say, too, is that if you want me to listen to what you have to say, if you want the progressive movement to be open-minded and hear the different arguments about how Zionism isn't all the same and not all Zionists are the same, and there's a lot of that conversation happening, what if you just showed up to the movement? What if it was okay to show up to a social justice movement and say, you know what, this is not about me. Let me show up and work for Black lives or undocumented immigrants. Let me roll up my sleeves for folks who are being impacted right now in this moment in such vicious ways. And guess what happens after you show up without putting conditions on your allyship and solidarity? Guess what happens? Eventually someone turns to you and says, who are you? Where did you come from? What is your story? That is what happens to me in the social justice movements. I have never showed up at a table and people who work with me on criminal justice reform, immigrant rights, healthcare access, you name it. I have never showed up to a table and said, before I sit down, raise your hand if you believe in the liberation of the Palestinian people. Raise your hand if you believe in BDS. That never happens because that's not how the movement works. The movement is a place to build transformative relationships. It's an opportunity for you to show up, give your all to another marginalized community, and by nature, people reciprocate that solidarity, people humanize you, and people ask you, what can I do for you? What are you being impacted by? Because I want to show up for you.
And there it is, everyone. That is a lot to take in. We'll go through it bit by bit. Remember what she said before?
And the fact that people want to frame the way that I choose to show up in a movement, they are denying my existence and my right to be an unapologetic Palestinian American who is not only a critic of the state of Israel, but I'm sure damn well a critic of the United States of America, and I always have been, even under the Obama administration.
The fact that people want to choose how I frame to show up in a movement is denying her right to be unapologetically Palestinian American? Well, she just said it right there. She's framing your entry into a movement. How about instead of coming to a movement and saying what you want to say, you shut the fuck up, get in the corner, do what we want, and maybe after a while, we'll humanize you. We'll make you a human after that. We won't look at you as a human when you come to the movement. We'll just look at it after you do shit for us for a while. The astounding hypocrisy there. Absolute zero self-awareness whatsoever. And this is why, Linda, people don't want you speaking at an anti-Semitism panel. And what have you said about it so far, honestly? All you've really said is to take down anti-Semitism, you have to take down every form of oppression with it together. You've said jack shit about problems against the Jewish community. Nothing. You haven't said anything about the racism and the anti-Semitism at all. Nothing. Not one fucking thing. So like she said, you can't frame how she wants to come into a movement, but for her movement, you have to come in, work for Black lives, work for this and that, and then you'll finally be humanized. She says how she's never showed up at a table and before I sit down, you gotta be pro-Palestinian and pro this and pro that. But then in the same breath just says, come to the movement, this is how the movement works, shut the fuck up and listen. And she's literally telling you at a table right now how it's gonna be. It's very fucking confusing to me, Linda. You know, like you said before, I'm so confused. I am so confused how any of this makes any sense to you.
So what I hope that you get from this conversation is this. I don't care who you are, Jewish or not Jewish, we all must commit to dismantling anti-Semitism. And that the existential threat resides in the White House, in the highest offices of these lands. And if what you're reading all day long, morning and night in the Jewish media is that Linda Sarsour and Minister Farrakhan are the existential threat to the Jewish community, something really bad's going to happen and we're going to miss the mark on it.
Oh, and there it is. Linda's great contribution to the conversation of anti-Semitism. People responsible for anti-Semitism, the Jewish media and the White House. If you think me and Louis Farrakhan are the problem, then you're gonna miss something big. So get your head out of the clouds and join our movement where you have to shut up and listen and do as we say.
The satanic Jews that control everything and mostly everybody. If they are your enemy, then you must be somebody.
So what I say to all of you here is that I am not looking for any approval from Zionists, right-wing Zionists, from Jewish Americans, from not Jewish Americans. I don't need anybody to invite me to the movement to dismantle anti-Semitism. I come here because I believe in it, and it's the right thing to do for all of us. And guess what else is going to happen? By default, even our opposition is going to benefit from the solidarity and the work that we do here. What they don't know is eventually they will be protected based on the work that we will do to risk our lives to protect the most marginalized people in this country, including our Jewish sisters and brothers. Thank you. Woo! Woo!
Well, thank you, Linda. We know you're not looking for our approval, but we know we can't join your movement unless we get yours. Not hypocritical at all. Don't worry, you're not gonna die for this movement. You're not in any danger whatsoever. Another attempt at creating victimhood for herself. But yeah, sure, Linda, you know best. No one knows better than you. We're all gonna benefit from what you're doing now. Even the opposition, even the people who are against you, we're all gonna benefit from it. I mean, honestly, Linda, if I was Jewish, why wouldn't I want to follow you after this 8-minute speech where you talk about nothing but your victimhood and how you can't handle the criticisms of your opponents, and that to be in your movement, there's no conversation about what the movement is, and you have to shut up and just sit in the corner and do what you're told. And throughout those 8 minutes, you did nothing to combat anti-Semitism whatsoever. I don't know, Linda. Why wouldn't I want to follow you? I'm very confused about it, just like you're confused. Have a good night, guys. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I just wanted to say, this month Patreon started charging people who become patrons of mine. So a lot of people dropped out. Now, I think a better way, if you want to do monthly donations, you could just do it on PayPal whenever you want. I have a link there. You could just go there and donate whenever you feel like it. It doesn't have to be monthly, it could be one time, however you like it. But they don't charge a fee, so you don't have to worry about that. And I've been having problems with the Teespring store. I'll put the links in the description that you guys are supposed to be using, because I've been having a problem where people try to order and it says you have to reserve it. Apparently those links aren't active, but it's weird because every time I go to the page, I get the same link all the time and I post it. So if you're having those problems, just let me know when you're ordering a t-shirt and I'll see what I can do about it, and I'll contact Teespring and see what's up. So just go through those links for now and hopefully it'll work. And to all those who do support me on Patreon or PayPal or Teespring, whatever you use, thank you very much. I always appreciate it. And thank you. Until next time.